the Musty Wargamers.
Hey, we're live, everybody. Howdy ho. We're back. Yeah. And the dogs are here. We got the American werewolves.
Season 5, Episode 5, with special guest Bill Bouchon, or a.k.a. Landsknecht, 1525.
Hey, how you doing, guys? Thanks for inviting me back.
It's been a while.
You're always welcome to come back, Bill.
All right.
So it's like right now we just have a great view of your, looks like, are those samurai or something?
Very, very close. We have warrior monks.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
So they have samurai armor and robes on. So it's kind of like painting Dark Angels in 40K, I guess.
That's cool. So, well, why don't we go on the version of the screen here, and Rusty, why don't you do your hobby update and what you've been up to and what your musty drink is and all that fun stuff first, and then we'll go to Bill, and then we'll go to me.
All right, just see what everybody's up. I'm just gonna say we had hello Dan, hello Clark, hello me.
Hey everybody.
Now we got right now 2 people watching, and that happens to be Clark and Dan. That includes myself. All right, so it's good to be back after our 3-week hiatus. Just chatting with Dan today. We're trying to figure out when we're going to get together and have our little game that we're supposed to do. We're going to play some bolt action, hopefully within a month. There we go. Hobby wise, if we had this show last Thursday, I would have showed you a ton of stuff, but now I do not have anything to show.
No worries.
Everything I did was left across the other side of the state.
Oh, okay. Because you were painting stuff for your brother, right? Is that right?
Yeah, a whole bunch of BattleTech stuff. I painted all that, did that for him, left that with him, and we had our game on Saturday, so it's almost a week ago. But we played a little bit of BattleTech and enjoyed our time together, and blew stuff up, and it's always fun playing BattleTech. Right. And right now, I just started working on some BattleTech stuff today, but it's all over on the other table. I didn't bother bringing it because it's really not really exciting. It's just base coat. Oh, you went from being primed black to base coat. So there's looks like we got Brad just popped in.
We also got somebody named the Rusty Razor. I'm not sure that we've seen that person in the house yet.
No.
Hello, the Rusty Razor. And looks like we've got broken dice. We've got Tim in.
Tim's.
Hello, Tim. Welcome to the live show. So, what else is going on, Rusty?
Well, let's see.
And Nick has jumped in. Very silent mouse. Hey, Nick.
Oh yeah. So it's a whole bunch of people just popping in all of a sudden.
Yes.
Well, let's see. I do have a musty drink here. I do have a 12-year-old red breast Irish whiskey.
Nice.
Really nice stuff. Howdy, Tim. It's like first time live. It's like you haven't been to our live show? Probably not. It's like most of the time, Tim, you've been probably watching after the fact. Now that you got all this free time, we're going to have to get you on the show.
Absolutely.
It's like you're another one of those individuals that could be on here and entertain yourself. Now this smells really good. You've had red breast, haven't you?
I haven't had that one.
Well, let's put it this way. It's on the same quality as a good scotch.
Oh, yeah?
All right.
Cool.
Oh, yeah. And it costs about the same as a really good scotch, too.
Nice.
Oh, that was good. Man. I'm going to have to savor that one. So that's everything that's going on around here. So
How about you, Bill?
Well, I've been painting and also doing some gaming. Last week I did tanks for no, is it World of Tanks? I think it's called now. I tried that out. That was kind of fun.
The miniature portion.
Yeah, it's a 15 millimeter scale. It's done by Battlefront. Pretty good fun game. Or is it Gale Force 9? I don't remember.
Yeah, it's Gale Force 9.
Gale Force 9? Okay, yeah. And then I've been playing a lot of Western games in the last few months. A lot of shootouts, old Key Corral type stuff. So, and then for painting, I've been kind of disappointed with the amount of production I've been doing last year. So I am stepping it up this year to do a ton more painting. I completed some pirates at the beginning of the month, and now I'm working on some warrior monks for feudal Japanese period. So.
Nice, cool.
For those individuals that don't know your channel, which is up there on your name tag, you got your camera right to show your face.
Yeah. Let me go ahead and do that here.
We don't want to scare everybody, but it has to be done.
Okay. Here we go.
Oh my God!
There he is.
Yep, here I am.
So you were gonna not that I don't want to raid on your choice of how you want to do your portion, but you were going to do a little bit of showing us something tonight too, I think.
Yes. Let me get the other camera on, and I will. Even though I've been gaming for decades and painting for decades, I've got a tool that I've been being a grouchy old man about up until now. And so we have a tool in here.
I know a lot of us have boxes, but what's in the box?
Why don't you do the zoom in, Rusty?
We'll do in a second here.
Yeah. This is the parts. And so what it is a
VHS tape.
An airbrush. And it comes with a compressor.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, airbrush.
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
I'm breaking down. And for the longest time, I've just been painting with nothing but brushes. But now this is a new world for me.
Yeah. Well, that'll be a new journey, that's for sure. I know.
Oh, yeah.
Just like painting with brushes, it has its own whole host of things to learn, I think. I'm still learning some of them.
Yeah. I also ordered a bunch of Austrians for Napoleonics for Perry miniatures.
Yeah.
And because their uniforms are all white and all their web gear is all white,
yeah,
I thought that would be the perfect army to do airbrushing.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome.
Just prime everything in white and then throw a wash on it and call it good, right? Is that how it works?
Well, I was gonna try what they call Xenophobe shading. I don't know.
Yeah, the highlighting. Yeah, where you're basically kind of going down from like the sun perspective, and pointing, either above to 45 degrees, towards you. Yeah, to leave the darker parts below.
Our Viking friend is asking what brand of airbrush you got.
It was a brand that my wife gave it to me for my Christmas present. So I don't know one brand from another, unfortunately.
Yeah, no worries.
She says it's from China. That narrows it down.
Well, that's lids it pretty open. So
Yeah. Cool. That's awesome. That's exciting, Bill. It's actually it's really quick, good thing to try.
It went by reviews, the number of reviews, and the quality of the reviews.
Okay, so my wife has been saying that she was going by reviews and quality of reviews.
Nice.
So hey,
Paul. Thanks for joining in, Paul. It's awesome. Got a really cool group in the house tonight. And then we also have Danny in the comments that I've not seen on the show before either.
Danny Tove Masher. Okay, so we got Dan.
That's awesome.
We got Clark. He also says, it's my favorite part. It's Thursday night. Then we got Brad. Obviously, we know Tim's in here. Nick.
Yeah.
Miss anybody?
So, shall I go now?
No,
We'll just skip that. I'm not doing it.
Yeah,
I'm not interesting.
We heard it all before.
Kind of have, actually. But it's not too far from the truth, really. All I can say, I mean, my painting's slow right now, like really slow, but I'm trucking away and I'm trying to do like 5 miniatures a week, and it's taking longer than that. But I am trying to continue to paint and get back into painting after like a really long hiatus. I'll just show the couple that I'm working on. They're pretty close to being done, but I still have to do the bases and do their shields and additional things. What I got here? Next camera. Let's see. So, so I've got 5 more of these old 1989 Beastmen, and I'm doing these in a slightly different skin tone than I showed in my most recent video. These guys are a bit more of a normal brown skin tone. They're kind of bleached out right now with the light from above, but basically, there's still these like Nurgle Beastmen, Warhammer Beastmen, and so I'm having fun with it. And I'm probably going to paint some pouches and then their bases of it tonight if I can get any painting done. As far as my show and tell, I kind of mentioned that I also had something coincidentally very similar to Bill. I also primarily use brushes, and I use airbrushing mostly for priming and varnishing, but I use it occasionally for highlighting and actual painting base paints and things like that. But one thing I've never had, I've had a couple of airbrushes over the years, but I've never had a fine detail airbrush, and so I kind of got one of these, and it's a 0.2 millimeter. It's supposed to be able to get into really small places, and this is a Mr. Hobby brand, but it's actually they call it, there are different people that sell this, but it's the Krios. It's out of Japan, the PS270. For a fine detail. It's also kind of had good reviews and things, and so really quite excited about that. And so I will be, that's actually an early birthday present, and coming up. And I'm going to switch camera, and I will show. My gaming has really slowed down recently just because of I actually had a positive case in my house a couple weeks ago, and between that and work and just I've had a bunch of gaming I was doing with the Marvel game, but it's really slowed down again, and so I can't really talk too much about that. But we are planning on doing some Sharps practice coming up soon, and then of course some Marvel and a couple other things. But Sharps practice, French Indian War is supposed to be going to be happening soon, and I did pick up. Bill mentioned some miniatures he purchased. I actually, from Minden Miniatures, picked up some Highlanders for French Indian War. They're really 7-year war, but really same time period, and so they would be the same. And using those for French Indian War games. So I'm looking forward to painting those at one point. But I've got a lot of French Indian War backlog. Actually, I could probably paint for years French Indian War stuff that I haven't painted yet. My musty drink tonight is Dalmore. Dalmore 15-year, really nice.
That's the 15.
Yeah, it's really nice, affordable Scotch, and it tastes really good. And so that is what I'm drinking.
I almost brought my Dalmore tonight, but I decided to go with the Red Breast instead.
Something subliminal said this was going to be a duplicate here. We were going to be like,
need to spread out the love a little bit.
yeah.
And then we got poor Paul here. I broke my shoulder, so I'm not just wargame painting spectator now.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Having a broken link kind of makes it hard. It's where you need one of those stands to hold the miniature for you. And then Clark says he's drinking up because he just sat down to dinner. And we got somebody else new in the house. We got R. McDud 2, Mark 2.
Hello, hello.
Coming over here.
So we've got a couple topics tonight. Rusty, do you want to do the order as it should be done since you are hosting?
The order of operations says, all right, tonight we have miniature painting goals and motivation that goes with that. So that's topic number 1. These were all supplied by our guest, Bill.
And why don't you say topic number 2 as well, just so people know what's coming.
All right, topic number 2 is top 5 favorite fantasy miniature war games.
All right.
Or fantasy war games you would like to play.
And the joy of wargaming is joined in too. Hey. Hello, hello. Thanks for joining in. So.
Well, should we go with the drum roll? Painting motivation and or painting goals and being motivated to do such goals. So, I have to say right now that we're a lively group of individuals that's been having a lot of problems with painting goals or being motivated to get to our goals. We have lots of goals. We just never get to our goals.
Yeah. That's like going to be the thing of this season. Like of the show.
Using the show to help get your painting goals done. And just to let you know why I'm not sitting here painting tonight, because, well, we have a laptop, which I normally use to go over there to behind all the Battletech stuff, which is stacking up now. All those boxes are miniatures that need to be painted. Is that my wife's laptop gave up, quit working tonight on her. So she was like, I need something to finish my work. And I was like, well, you can use mine. I can always sit at my desk. So my other desk.
All right.
So, Bill, do you have any type of goals you are working on right now that you would like to be for the year?
Well, I do have a year goal of painting 1,000 miniatures in a single year. And so I know that's a pretty steep number, but I think it's attainable.
That's really impressive.
Well, it can be impressive or it could be really easy. If you're painting 6mm miniatures, not so bad.
Yeah.
You can crank those out in real quick. If you're painting a 6mm Napoleonic battle, that's nothing.
Yeah. Well, my wife is in the background and she says, "Oh, so you're going to paint my miniatures?"
Well, what about this? What about this Saga?
I do have to paint your miniatures.
Did you paint all that Saga since the last time you were on?
No. That's what she's referring to.
Okay. Because I remember you were painting Saga the last time.
Yeah. So she wants me to paint her miniatures, so I have to do that.
So what kind of miniatures do you have to be working on?
My wife wants to have painted miniatures before playing. So
that's a very honorable goal, I think.
Yeah.
Especially if you're doing any type of video work with them for making video battle reports. It's always nice having some eye candy on the table.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But she has painted some models. This is one of her paint jobs of a stalker, and she's made a conversion with optics on the top of it.
Very cool.
With a doll eyeball.
Yeah, she says with a doll eyeball.
You dolled it up.
And a mohawk, I guess, right, honey?
Yep.
And she used sparkly paints too.
Bit glittered.
I use sparkly nail polish on it.
Oh, she's saying it's sparkly nail polish that she used
It's
for
awesome.
BattleTech. So
Personalizing it, making it your own.
yeah,
Because I wanted it to be purple sparkles on it.
Well, that's all that matters. It's what you want. So
yeah.
I was gonna make one for you too.
You can still make one for me, honey. I've got
You want
other.
blue sparkles?
If you want, honey. Now, one thing that I've noticed with goals is if you sign yourself up for an event sometime in the future, that usually sparks my
motivation.
my enthusiasm for getting a project done. Is, oh, I got this tournament coming up or this other thing, convention coming up. I better get this done before that happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
That usually is the biggest driver to get things done quickly.
That's like a peer pressure thing, too, because you're bringing it out there, and
yeah, it's like any type of upcoming game is always a big motivator for me. Is that you want something to be put on the table? It's like, oh, we're going to be playing this. I'm highly motivated to paint a unit really quick just to put it on the table so it can die horribly. Because that always seems to be the most nicely painted miniatures usually die the quickest, especially the new ones. It's like Clark says here, it's like miniature painting goals. My uncle has 200 BattleTech miniatures that need painted before Gen Con. Is Gen Con in August or is it still September? I can't remember. They gave the dates, but I just haven't paid attention. You can answer that down below. And Paul says, my goal is 0 because my wing is broke. My goal is to paint all the tumbling dice, Napoleonic sailing ships. The joy of wargaming made me buy. So I take it you two know each other. Okay, congrats on even painting minis. I use cardboard standees and chits for playing BattleTech. Well, back in the day when we first started playing BattleTech, that was the thing.
Oh, I've heard this a couple of times now. I guess I need to.
Oh, you heard that B word.
Yes.
For those of you that are new to the show, whenever the B word gets mentioned, one has to have a sip of adult beverage.
Quote has to, end quote. It's just a little tongue-in-cheek thing.
Yeah. I'm into Colt action in American Civil War, Physical Wet, Greek Commanda, Flames of War, etc. So basically, Paul's into anything that throws dice. Not BattleTech. Well, somebody has to draw a line. Nice stalker. No, I'm not into space robots. They're not robots. They're people piloting them. Mark one eyeball to the stalker. That brings all new meaning. Clan Sparkle Unicorn approves the glitter painted mechs. I have FJ Flames of War. That a Fallschirmjäger Flames of War army? Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, Fallschirmjäger.
Yeah. My goal this year is 1 cluster and 3 reinforced battalions for BattleTech. That's always a decent job. I think we were counting. We have at least a cluster of mechs, just clan mechs sitting right here that need to be painted. We had a getting close to the starting. Was it yesterday or was it day before yesterday? Wednesday. Or was that yesterday? Yesterday was Wednesday, right? Oh, days go blending.
Yes, it was.
I posted that video about all the BattleTech new mechs that came in. I primed them today because we had a 37-degree temperature day Fahrenheit, so it was really, really, really warm day today. And before the temperatures dropped back down to sub-zero, which you probably are already facing those sub-zero temperatures again.
Yeah. It's actually not too bad right now compared to what it was a little bit ago, but
yeah, when you say sub-zero, that's Fahrenheit, which is like 20 below Celsius.
Yeah,
something like that. So I got them primed, and it's like I was outside, the sun's out. It's like I sprayed them down, and I left them sitting outside because I do everything outside. And I'm down here doing a little bit of work on one of my mechs, getting the base coat on them, and I go back upstairs because I wanted to bring them in, and it's snowing. I'm like, it's snowing. It was just sunny a second ago. Where does snow come from? It was coming down pretty hard, so I brought them inside and tossed them in the bathroom and put the vent on and threw a fan on them so they dry out a little quicker.
Yeah.
So right now, my goal is at this time of year, when the weather is warm enough, my goal is always to prime everything I can. So I spend a day priming. And that's what today was priming miniatures. So when the days are bad and I can't prime, at least I have a stockpile of stuff that I can work on without worrying about it. That's what winter has taught me.
So, I guess from a topic perspective, I mean, like, I could talk about what successfully motivates me, but as somebody that's not been motivated lately, it's kind of doesn't make a lot of sense because it's like, why don't you just do it then, Palmer? Like all the things you're saying right now. But I guess it wanes. But you know, at times I'm really interested because it's the game, kind of like Bill said. Like whether I don't tournament a lot, but it could be that I want to just do some like 6mm ancients or something and try something like that. And so all of a sudden I'm motivated to paint something I've never painted before and to play games I've never played. And all of a sudden the getting down on the table and like doing stuff is motivating. It could be like these guys are really nostalgic for me and it took such a long time to collect them. And now that I'm painting them, like that's the thing that got me to paint a little bit now is just to finally get some paint on stuff I wanted to do for so long that I wasn't allowing things that I just needed to game to drive my painting. Like it was something I just want to paint. And so even though I will use these in Warhammer Fantasy, at one point, it's not driving me to paint anytime. And I guess, you know, like, I guess, you know, like there are a lot of things I can say that kind of motivate me. Like it could be nostalgia or the passion for like something like French Indian War or even, you know, something like Warhammer, like that I just really like and just that passion for it. I'm just in the mood and I just want to do it. And that can be the thing. But whether it doesn't always work, none of this stuff always works. And so, you know, like I'm not going to actually like pretend like it does. Not at this time. Not this time, at least. And so outside of that, as far as motivation goes, this is the first year in many years that I've not set myself any goals and for hobbying. And part of it is the last year and last summer and fall were the first times that I was so unmotivated that this January I just forgot all about like any hobbying goals. Like, and so I have stuff that I want to do and I'm kind of just doing it one step at a time. Like when I paint one thing, I'm just going to think of something else I really want to do and paint it. But I don't have like an assembly line and I don't have like my whole stash on the shelf that I have a plan for. I'm just going to kind of just do whatever I want to do, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
It may not be the thing that actually gets things done faster, because I realize goals can be really good to get things done. But I guess right now, with my life right now and stuff, like I'm just not worrying about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I say one thing that really motivates me sometimes is the Musty Wargamers painting challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just grabbing a unit and working on it. So I have that. It's like, yep, that's what I'm doing this time, and get it done.
That was actually like really well executed, Rusty, to support our next challenge. I didn't even think of that, but that was really good.
Why, yes, it is.
I do agree, though. I actually find those. I've painted a lot because of that in the past, of things that I've wanted to get done. So I can't disagree.
Yeah, it's one of those things that just like, all right, I'm just pulling something out of my, as Dan can say, my museum of miniatures, and grab a unit out and start painting one.
Absolutely.
And I say we got some comments popped in here. We got Clark. I would like to finish and add to my Empire fleet for Dystopian Wars. They have dragon robots now. It's like, yes, they've been adding some nice miniatures to the game. I do have a bunch of old Empire fleet stuff that I really need to work on. Like I got a whole entire fleet of this stuff that needs to be done. And Nick says, very silent mouse. Hey Palmer, Battletech is 6 mil. Well, it used to be 6 mil. It's 10 mil.
That is true.
It's now out of scale.
Yep. I was looking to go a little more ancient than the far future when I say ancients, but I do understand that. That's true.
Yeah,
I like Epic. Don't get me wrong. I actually really Epic 40K. I want to play a bit more.
Yeah, it's been three years since I played the Epic, which is kind of crazy.
Can it really be that long? Because I remember that video and it was like, this does not seem like that long ago.
I know. I was just going through my video catalog of stuff the other day, and it's like, wow, that video is 3 years old. That video is 4 years old. That one's 5. It just seems like yesterday. It's like this last couple of years just went by so fast, and nothing's happened really. Okay, Tim, Broken Dice. I want to finish up my Flames of War British for North Africa before my next purchase arrives and raise the level of my plastic mountain. I have painted up a bunch of North Africa, early North Africa British forces for Flames of War. And I also used them for the other 15 mil game I have. Got those. Yeah, suddenly I'm not. I got all the miniatures over there. Battle Group.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Another motivation I have is usually from an outside source. Like, for instance, me getting back into feudal Japanese stuff. I found on Lead Adventure Forum there was someone that was using Pikeman's Lament with a conversion from an article on War Games, Soldiers, and Strategy to do it for Japanese samurai. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I have Pikeman's Lament in my library, and I just purchased that magazine, and I'm going to give that a shot. And
that's awesome.
I'm getting excited about it. So I printed up a whole bunch of samurai and these are warrior monks to start working on that. It got me excited about that. So outside influence has a lot to do with some of my my motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that I ordered last year, actually the year before last, was the Raise the Black Kickstarter from Blood and Plunder.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for
Firewalk.
that to show up, and then when that does, it's going to really drive a lot of enthusiasm for starting to do pirate stuff in the future.
Because you have a bunch of 3D printed ships.
Oh yeah, I've got a little fleet going on right now.
Have they made? I imagine somebody's done it, but they have the Caribbean style buildings. Somebody would do a STL for those.
Well, I found a building from Printable Scenery, the same place where I got the ships from, and it's pretty nice. It's a 2-story building, and also they have some plank stuff that you can use for docking. So you can actually make some docks and stuff with the plank. I haven't gotten around to printing that stuff up yet, though. But
yeah, I've always thought about it as I get around to finish, because I have that one Kickstarter where they added the European army stuff to the mix. I got all those miniatures yet to paint, and I've been thinking about actually making some scenery. Because it's not all the battles always happened on, all the, you have a lot of raids happened on land. So,
oh yeah, definitely. My suggestion would be to go on Amazon and then do a search for palm trees. I bought a few years ago a whole bunch of palm trees, plastic ones, for a very little cost, and I've got an entire 4x6 table worth of jungle I can throw on that table, and I'll have to. I think I got some videos in the past when I made that.
is that like for railroad stuff or?
I actually don't know. I found those. It's like a variety packs of palm trees. They're just plastic palm trees. If you do a search for plastic palm trees on Amazon, you'll find them. And boy, it's a cheap way of really making some really really quick. I didn't even think of going to eBay. That's a good point there, Paul.
Oh, here we go. 16 plastic green palm tree coconut cupcake toppers. And you get 25 of them for $11. Interesting.
And what I do is I get those palm trees and I repaint them so they look nice. And then I use if I'm doing like a beach area, I use sandpaper as I cut sandpaper to make the beach area. It's kind of a cheat.
Yeah, that's probably a pretty good idea. We might wear down your bases over time.
Uh-oh.
I'm just kidding. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, I just did a quick search, and you can get 34 pieces of model trees mixed with coconut palm trees, fake trees, for train, railroad, scenery, landscape, do-it-yourself. You get 34 of them for basically $14.
Nice.
So yeah, that's I might have to think about that. That'd actually be pretty good for using in like even 25 or 15 mil
North Africa.
games, or the Pacific.
Pacific, yeah. Yeah, that's.
I got a lot of plastic palm trees when I did the pulp Savage Core stuff. The jungle stuff, and I painted them brown and then dry brushed them in like a lighter brown, and like kind of like Bill said, and they really do come out nice. They were 28 mil, like being used for a 28 mil setting. They were pretty decently sized. It was a lot better than making them. It just didn't make sense.
Yeah, say there's enough stuff here to pick up to make some interesting terrain.
Absolutely.
Some good stuff.
There's one for 12 plastic model toy palm trees, wide range, and they show it with little plastic dinosaurs in it. Dinosaurs not included.
So it looks like we've got a fair bit of comments there piling up.
Yeah, we got sidetracked by palm trees. See, Nick wants to paint some level 3 Battletech stuff for Comstar. Actually, this year, big goal is not to buy any new minis. It's going to be a big challenge. I've kind of done that myself, where I've put a limitation on myself for not purchasing anything new for a while. My son, on the other hand, has gone hog wild on Battletech miniatures. Because everything that you've seen that's been coming through the videos, like unboxings, that's all his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The next painting challenge. When will the next painting challenge be? Well, usually we do one in October, November, and one in April. So
Coming up then.
Yeah. And Paul says, do a War Master army, Palmer.
I actually have 15 mil that I'm going to be doing for like the AD&D battle systems, which is kind of like the same. Although War Master's, I guess closer to 6, right? I think
it's 10.
Oh, it's 10. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have some 15 mil fantasy that I'm planning on doing, and so that'll be similar. But I like the idea of doing a lot of like those small scales. So that is appealing. I hear nothing but good things about the old War Master game. I never did play it myself.
Yeah, I got the rule book. Played around with a little bit with other people that had the armies.
However, actually, that's kind of really close to our topic tonight. Our next one. We probably should save too much discussion about it till it comes. But I really enjoy Epic, the 40K version with the 6 mil. And I'll be honest with you, as much as I love painting 28 mil and I love painting even like busts and large stuff, I'm really interested in gaming in small scales. And I actually am really interested in doing some 6 mil and 15 mil and doing a bit of that. Like that's kind of something that's an interest of mine. And I actually also think that doing a bit of 3D printing, getting a resin 3D printer is a little hand in hand for me with that. Like I actually think they would really support that. Because in a lot of ways, I'm not really getting the little 6 mil miniatures for the detail of the sculpts. If I can find decent 3D prints of those scales, I'd probably be totally fine to use them.
Yeah. That's always the hard part. I was just asked tonight by one of my friends who wants me to look into Wild West miniatures because he wants me to paint some stuff up for him.
Oh, you got the right guy on the show tonight. It sounds like Bill's been doing a lot of that.
Yeah.
I've got majority of my miniatures I bought like from Old Glory Miniatures, and then I also got miniatures from was it same company that does the Frostgrave? Or was it
Oh, the company that does Frostgrave?
so North Star? I think it is.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, because they did the miniatures for Dracula's America, and so those are kind of Wild Wild West. Then I got some Knuckle Buster miniatures too. I like the Knuckle Buster the best.
Knuckle Duster?
Oh yeah. Now there's complaints from folks about Knuckle Buster taking a long time, but to get to you. But I didn't experience that. It got to me almost like within a week. So I don't know. It might be that they have difficulty shipping out of the country or something. I don't know. But since they're an American company, they zipped it to me. I think they're out of Illinois or something like that. So they're super close to you.
Well, let's see. Not sure. Knuckle Duster Miniatures. So they got an interesting line.
So maybe.
Paul said, before I got hurt, I got some cowboy figures from Great Escape Games. They're nice.
I think those are the plastic ones, aren't they?
Might be.
Yeah. I haven't gotten a hold of those.
So we had Old Glory 15, or Old Glory 28, right?
Yeah.
And let's see what else. You mentioned they do plastic and lead. Paul said. Picked up a fistful of lead from Wiley Wargames.
Uh-huh.
I'm not an expert on Wild West miniatures, but when I was kind of looking into it, I like the Foundry ones when I was looking at them. They look really nice.
And a lot of the Foundry ones that are like Victorian civilians can be used as Wild West miniatures too.
Mm-hmm.
With the bowler hats and stuff.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
I've done a bunch of 28s for Old Glory miniatures for someone in a commission. It was the, what do they call them, the Civil War stuff.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So what do you think next topic of the top 5 games, et cetera, because I think we have a number of other things besides the top 5 games. What do you think, Rusty?
Yeah, we can go into that.
How do you want to start that off? Do we start off at number 5 and go in the round robin, or how do we do that?
That should work. All right. Now, let's just say the topic is top 5 fantasy war games. Now, I didn't say if you played them already or hadn't played them, or just what you consider the top 5. So we put it that way, or you would say played.
Well, I did it as only ones that I've played, and then I have commentary like other stuff that I've skipped and then I'd like to play and that I think are good, but I'm only ranking if I've played it.
Okay.
And that's
same here.
One of my problems. Because I've not played as many as I might think I have.
Yeah.
Fantasy games.
I'm only going off of miniature games that I've played. You know, there's a ton of fantasy stuff I've played, but it's just actual miniature games.
Oh yeah, and I'm only doing miniature games.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here.
All right, I think we're on the same page.
Okay.
Yep.
Because I didn't make that clear. It was like clear as mud.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Who wants to go first?
Well, I started last on the last one. Maybe I'll just go first. I'll just pull up this list here that I've got here. So so we kind of said we were going to ad lib here. I mean, like, there's a lot of stuff, and I'll just kind of rattle these off. Like, I skipped a lot of games that I wanted to play, but I just didn't because I had a lot of other stuff going on, and I wanted to really just focus in my hobbying over the last number of years. And so ones that I skipped just real quick before I say my number 5 are like the Elf King, by the company that also does Savage Core. I'm struggling here for a second, but in any case, and then the Thud and Blunder by the League of the Gentlemen, Wargamers, Song of Ice and Fire, like basically the Game of Thrones. That looked really good, but I totally didn't buy into it. But it looks like a great game. And then lastly, there was also, is it Warriors of Ethalon, like the Warlord Games game that's sort of supposed to be like a Gates of Antares or
it's
version.
Warlords of I say nowhere because it's nowhere spelled backwards.
Oh, okay. Well, in any case, I skipped that too. Like, even though it's based on a foundation of like bolt action essentially at one point, I guess, it's, I still skipped it, and it's not to say it's not a great game, but I just didn't play it. So I can't really talk about them that much. But for me, of the games that I've played and ones that I liked, my number 5 would be Saga Age of Magic. I like Saga quite a bit. I prefer the historical version, even though they added really cool things for the fantasy to be able to account for fantasy stuff. I found I still prefer the historical more because I think it was kind of a sweet spot for me. But it was still really fun to play and great to use the Saga game engine and have the freedom to make all different kinds of fantasy warbands in it. And so I really liked it. And you guys have heard me talk about Saga many times on this show and my channel. I don't really have to talk about what Saga is, I don't think. But yeah, it was a nice addition to their universes.
Okay.
And so that's my number 5.
Yeah.
So your number 5 was?
Saga Age of Magic.
Saga.
All right. Okay. Just wanted to make sure. So you're saying this one.
Yes.
Saga.
Good game.
All right. Just wanted to make sure.
Saga version 2 is great. I really like it. It is a good game.
Because that was going to be, that's on my list of ones I want to play.
Yeah.
I have yet to get anybody to play it with me, so I have it, and I've heard nothing but good things about it. So that's something I want to try.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. If I could, I'll go next. I was going to do number 5 was going to be the old D&D miniature
Battle systems.
Battle system.
Yeah.
I couldn't find my rule book. It's probably in the back shelf back there, but it's blocked by plants right now. So
yeah.
I wanted to mention that with number 5. So just preface that one. But that one I played for so long ago. Where that came out back in we're talking 30 something years ago.
Yeah.
So it's been about that long since I played it. But so I'm going to go off with the one that is most current, and it's not the best at all. Right. But when you're playing fantasy games, and you go with what you have. So we'll go with that one. So number 5 is Battle Valor Fantasy.
All right.
So that's number 5. And that's
not the best.
Not the best.
Well, yeah.
But it's by Valor Games. It's not the best game out there by any stretch of the means. But if you want to play a game that's fairly simple and easy, To play, that's it. If you will sit down and have both people sit down and go by page, and this is my advice. If you picked up the game and your friend wants to play too, you sit down, go page by page, read each section and figure out what it means and get it set in stone between the two of you. Then you won't have any problems. But when you have three different people playing and each person reads it and they have their own interpretation and they go, then there. That's number 5. The headache, the hair pullers, like when it's like, Palmer, you don't have to worry about pulling your hair, and I got little hair left, so yeah, it's like
you need to make sure you grow your nails out a little long to pull your hair.
Yeah.
That AD&D battle system was going to be my one that I want to play, that I've had since it came out, and really looking forward to playing it. But have not yet, so I can't really rank it.
Yeah. It was a system that got me thinking about playing fantasy before I started really playing fantasy. And since it was related to D&D, I started buying miniatures and stuff to actually play as the game itself. But
yeah. So, Bill, what's number 5?
My number 5.
Sorry, Rusty, I didn't mean to interrupt there.
I was going to say, it's like when they were talking about playing with cardboard or paper plastic or paper standees we played the old game system we'd write on it what the miniature was, and we just write on it and was using paper to push it around. That's how we played the game.
Right.
So, moving on. All right, Bill.
All right. So my number 5 is a game called Hordes of the Things. And it's the fantasy version of DBA. I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard of DBA, but it's an ancient game.
Yep.
Decades ago. I don't even know if anyone plays it anymore. But the Hordes of Things was the fantasy version of that game. And I had many hours at the table playing that game. So, yeah. I love
DBA is still alive and well, and I think I've seen Hordes of Things oftentimes abbreviated as HOT, and I've definitely seen that out there. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I've never played it, but I've seen it out there for sure.
I have the PDF of the rules here somewhere on my computer.
Oh, nice. All right.
DBA's came out with a new version of the game within the last 2 years.
Yes, they have. That was one of when we were thinking about playing 15 mil fantasy, that was one of that popped up that we were thinking about trying out for a while.
Nice.
And then we got stuck into Battle Valor and other stuff. So.
Well, my number 4 to me is definitely fantasy, and we kind of said that we're not doing sci-fi, like we're choosing not to cover sci-fi games, because even though that is fantasy, but it's like sci-fi as a genre. I actually consider this fantasy, and that's On Your All World at Twilight, because even though it's sort of a made-up world, like the person that made the game like literally did a world-building exercise and has creatures that are not found in like Lord of the Rings or D&D or Game of Thrones. Like that, it's not, or like even mythology for the most part. Like they're not. It doesn't draw upon a source material for the game. It actually makes everything from the ground up, and there are no humans. Like it's all creatures, fantastical creatures, and the game itself is fun. Like I'm still new at playing it, and I play it over time. I've had to play games, but you actually kind of throw stones. You don't use dice too much. There's only like one spot in the game you throw a die for a save, but everything else you throw these two-sided stones, and you roll against your opponent and you manipulate the stones. And it's kind of, because it's like a fantasy game, the stones kind of really fit in a lot of ways, and it's actually a lot of fun. It is quite a bit of manipulating your abilities on your card per character. It's a skirmish game for sure. It's not mass battle like some of the ones we're talking about. It's a skirmish fantasy game, but it's enjoyable. And given its uniqueness of both the rules and the setting and the style of miniatures and everything, I ranked it a little higher than Saga Age of Magic, but they're two totally different games. You know, some people would definitely like one over the other for the fact that they're so different.
Okay, so that was which one? Twilight?
4 World of Twilight.
World of Twilight. Okay.
Yeah, not Twilight with the vampires and the werewolves.
World of Twilight.
Nice.
All right. So that one, World of Twilight.
On your all, World of Twilight. You got it.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so moving on to me. My number 4 is Frostgrave. Frostgrave is pretty fun. So if you haven't heard about Frostgrave or played it, it's basically you have your wizard, you have your apprentice running around with you, and then you make your little retinue of followers, and you go off to battle and try to steal treasure, and you set up your little campaign game, and you're playing against other players who send in their wizard and their crews to go get the treasure. And you're basically kicking in doors and opening boxes and shooting your friends and stuff like that. So Frostgrave, a lot of fun. So, and basically it's one of those games where as you play a lot, your guys can get better.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of almost like a D&D aspect to it. So it's kind of fun, but it's a miniature game.
And you can use your own like any miniatures you want.
Yes.
Which I know that's become more common, but when that first came out, it wasn't as common.
Yeah, when this came out, it's like they didn't have their own miniature lines to go with it. So we picked it up and started playing. And I was using my old, so I was playing an undead necromancer as my character. And I was using my old Games Workshop miniatures. My old undead, everybody was, so it worked out pretty good.
That is good, yeah.
Yeah, so it didn't cost me but the $15 for the rule book.
Kind of boggles your mind, right? That you could actually play a miniature game and have it only cost you that much.
Yeah, we played it a lot for about a year, and then we started playing Gaslands, and then it just kind of disappeared on us. So that's why. You haven't seen, I never did any videos on it, I don't think, other than just mentioning that we were playing it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
So that is my number 4.
All right.
Frostgrave.
All right. So am I up next then?
Yep.
Number 4 is a repeat of Rusty's. I literally have Frostgrave there. So
that happens all the time with these discussions because a lot of them do come up, right? If it's not at the same time, it comes up at another point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you like
literally
about
not
Frostgrave?
my number 4. Sorry?
What do you like about Frostgrave?
Well, I like the progression, and I because I think that's the bread and butter of the game is to play one game after another and advance your wizard. And I like the depth of it too. I've picked up majority of the expansions to this game. So, yeah.
Well, it's really nice that they have their own miniature line now. So if you wanted to, you can build your, buy their stuff directly. Then we have Red Green 9 has come in and says he likes Frostgrave minis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did make their own line too, which look nice.
And I guess I would throw in Frostgrave with Ghost Archipelago and also throw in our Rangers of Shadowdeep as well, all in one game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, we are at number 3. So this is one that I could easily get into if I don't know if you guys have a game that like you would easily, if your friends just wanted to play it and like you weren't playing anything else, like you played it and you really liked it and you could easily do it, but you just have so many things going on that you just never get into it because you just have other stuff to do and you just don't. To me, and there are times when I really almost bought into this, but I have played it with my other friends' miniatures on more than one occasion, so I can rank it. Even though this is one I don't own, I rank it higher than 2 that I do for that very reason. Like what I just said, it's a great game, and that is Lord of the Rings, the strategy battle game by Games Workshop. Been around a really long time. As far as I know, from what I've seen of all of the versions of the rules that I've looked at and what everybody tells me, they've really not changed the rules that much over the years. It's actually kind of fairly similar to the original rule set, and a lot of good rule sets do that. Keep the rules, and I really like basically how the heroes are dealt with in the game. Like they have like kind of a resource system with heroes where you can power up in lots of different ways. I found it to be very on point as far as telling a story when playing the game, and it just does justice, I think, to a really good franchise. Lord of the Rings is one of the best franchises out there as far as fiction goes.
So War of the Ring?
Well, there's a lot of different versions of Lord of the Rings games, like from like board games till this. My understanding is it's called Lord of the Rings, the miniature strategy battle game, but
yeah,
maybe there's other times they've changed the name a little bit. I know there's board games. I think there's a board game also called War of the Ring. Yeah, like strategy battle game is what Brad says there. It's a fun game. Like it was just, I didn't buy it, and at this point, a lot of the miniatures I'd like to buy, the metal ones you can't get anywhere, or they're really expensive. But there's a huge fan base for the Lord of the Ring game that's just never gone away.
I'm surprised that Dan hasn't popped in here and said something about it.
I think he's played it. He's talked about it before. Dan can speak for himself.
Dan has a large collection. When you want to talk about somebody hoarding his treasure of miniatures, that's one of his hoards.
Maybe he's typing a really long paragraph right now.
Yeah, it could be. He's entering his dissertation right now.
They also have a mass. I think Dan is the one that reminded me / told me that they have a mass battle game version where you can play larger battles with the Lord of the Rings 28mm miniatures.
Yeah.
Masser battle, because it's basically built as a bit of a skirmish game, but it is a lot of fun. As a matter of fact, I was in a used bookstore just last weekend looking for cool old books for miniature gaming, and they actually had it there, and I almost bought it just to have it in my collection, even though I don't have the miniatures and stuff, but I didn't because cheap. I'm cheap. Even when I see a good deal, I'm sometimes cheap. I'm like, am I going to use this? Am I really going to use this, or is this just going to take a spot up on my bookshelf?
I've never played, but I have the rules for Lord. Okay.
Okay.
You have
clarification.
Yeah.
It was the other Dan with the big collection.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan. When I seen that came out on the market, I was like, oh, I got to get that. And then I realized I want to go have to mortgage the house to pick up everything I want, because I'm a all in type of guy. And it's like, it's easier not to step into the water and drown, type of thing. Because I really wanted to just get into it and just buy everything, because that's just the kind of guy I am,
Mm-hmm. It's so easy to watch one of those movies that were great and then just want to paint it all up and do that, play that stuff. That's where I think the franchise really sucks you in.
All right.
War of the Ring is the large scale version of the rules, and it is rated very well.
Okay, so that's the War of the Ring is the mass battle game that I was referring to, and I didn't realize that. I knew there was a mass battle version. Yeah.
And Dan says, I have painted 2 of the armies, all right, but not used them in the game. So, in the Easterling Force, though, those are kind of interesting looking miniatures.
Absolutely. So that was my number 3.
All right.
Number 3. All right, that goes to me. All right, so we got 2 versions of it. So we got Armies of Arcana. So let's just go with this one first. We have Armies of Arcana. This is the Thane's Games version that came out 20-something years ago. I think this came out like first version came out in like 96, 97. And then here's the latest version of it that came out in like 2010, I think it was. This is 5th edition. This is 4th edition. So it's a interesting system because you can build your army. You can actually sit down with your friends and build units. So they have a generator. So you can build units in this game. So if you want to have this ability, so it costs you this points, this many points, and you can actually physically make it and then play the game against each other. So as long as you agree what you want. It's Dan, and the last game I played was with Dan. Last July, I think Dan Booman and we both played a game of this one. And Dan liked it. And I'd say one of these days we're going to come back to it and maybe play another game. And maybe by that time he might have his own 15 mil army. We'll see. Throw the gauntlet down.
All right.
So that's my number 3. It's like unattainium right now.
Yeah, you can't get it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I looked into it. Actually, when you were showing all the videos and stuff, I looked into it, and I noticed you can't get it.
We probably picked up the last couple rule books that were available in North America. So Dan got one, I got one, and Mel, Striker 11B, got the 3rd one.
Okay.
So
there you go.
So,
I'll have to wait for somebody to have an estate sale where get rid of it. It's the only way you're going to get your hands on it.
Or somebody's willing to cut up the rule book and photocopy it. That's about the only way you're going to get one. So.
Oh boy.
There are no PDF? They don't have any evil PDFs out there?
No.
Nowhere, huh?
I have looked to see if somebody had a PDF of it, and nobody did. So.
Okay.
Well, I have a PDF of the 3rd edition rule book, but that's not the 5th edition, which had clarified some stuff, cleaned things up.
So you like the 5th edition a little better?
Yeah, it clarifies things a little bit better.
Okay.
So if you want a 3rd edition of the PDF, I can get you that, but because that, Thane, he had that out.
Well, I have to have the best, Rusty, if I'm going to get it. So
I know.
Stepping down, I might as well not even go there.
I know.
I'm just kidding. So, how about you, Bill?
All right. Well, this is a game I'd never even heard of before, but my number 3 is Dragon Rampant. I really love the Rampant series, whether it be Lion, Dragon, even the Rebels and Patriots version. I really I dig that system, and Dragon Rampant, it's generic enough where you can fit almost any type of army you can think of into it, but that's also not why it's not the number 1 game on my list, because it's not in depth enough to warrant a higher position. I just wish there was more supplements for it, just to make it a little more deep, because right now it's we've played the heck out of it and it's become bland, unfortunately.
Yeah. I find that there's a lot of the easy, simple games like that do get boring after a while.
Yeah.
because there's
So-
just not enough meat and potatoes to it to make
Yeah.
you happy.
Yeah, I'd love to see a supplement, but I'm not going to hold my breath.
Well, we're on number 2 now.
Yep.
And my number 2 is Dragon Rampant.
Hey, there we go.
And so, funny enough, I actually considered Dragon Rampant because of a battle report that Bill did. Because I know, it may have been a while, but you did a battle report once on your channel. And I considered it because of that. It piqued my interest. And I really liked it. It was very different for me with a couple of things, like in the way that unit strength and some of the things were done was very difficult. Even though it's not a difficult rule set, it sort of was sometimes a simple rule set that just makes you change the way you think about something can be difficult. You know what I mean? And if you're used to doing things a different way, and to get initially into it, I found it a little difficult, but then I really liked it. And I think because of the flexibility with your miniatures and the book itself, the way it's written, and the creativity that you can put into your army to make it fit the mold, and some of the fun games that I've had, I kind of ranked it as number 2. I have a very short list of fantasy games, that I've played. I'm not saying that to diminish the number 2 status, but I put it 2 just for those reasons.
Nice.
Yeah.
So officially, your number 2 is Dragon
Rampant.
All right.
All right.
So done.
Mhm.
All right. My number 2 fantasy game is Warhammer Fantasy Battles.
There you go.
All right.
It's been around for a long time. It's like I almost brought out the 3rd edition rule book, but this is number 4.
Yeah.
This is where it really kicked off and actually became available to the masses for when it comes to an actual fantasy game, which, really, when you started seeing box sets in the store, people were buying it. Then we really started playing it hardcore. So that was Warhammer Fantasy Battles. I liked it from the aspect that you had a lot of eye candy. You had large forces. You could just fill the table up if you wanted to play large games. You could do it. Obviously in the 1st edition or the 4th edition, the points were a lot different than they did in 8th edition, but because they really wanted you to buy miniatures like crazy. But
as far as a miniatures-based fantasy game, from a sheer exposure perspective and mass volume of sales and gameplay, there probably hasn't been a game that's come close to Warhammer Fantasy Battles. I don't think. I mean, and not to say that means it's the best game, but it was a huge thing, right?
Yes, it was huge. It was like I said, it was the game that brought the fantasy to the masses, because then you started seeing people that hadn't been playing anything Games Workshop related started playing fantasy games. It's like, and the point wise, it wasn't breaking the bank to buy an army at that time. It was expensive, but it wasn't like you did, spend $50, $75 like today just for 10 miniatures. Before it was like, a blister would run you $2, $3. And, you'd buy a whole bunch of blisters and you got your small unit. And the unit only needed like 20 guys in it. So that was, pretty reasonable at the time.
Yeah.
And their box set, you buy a couple box sets and you take one half the army and you take the other half and you swap back and forth. And so you got a pretty decent sized army right off of using the box sets. So it was, a lot of people start playing the game right off, because of that. So
absolutely,
that was number 2, Warhammer Fantasy Battles, 4th edition.
There you go.
All right.
And we did have a few comments pop in here. Before we move on.
Sure.
He said he'd been working on an Amazon force for Warhammer Fantasy Battles. And then he said he had about 1,000 points of since it's Games Workshop related, that's the War of the Rings.
The Easterling, yeah.
Eastern Forest. And he said, I really like the Pirates of the Spanish Main. It was like constructible mini game. The ships came in packs like baseball cards. Are those little cardboard ones you put together? If I remember right. Like,
Oh yeah, I remember that.
because you pull them out, and you just pop the things out of the little things, and you stick them together.
Yeah, that was pretty popular about 20 years ago.
Yeah. Need to dust off my Ogre Kingdoms force. Oh yeah, that's later. That's like there wasn't such things as Ogre Kingdoms, I think, until what, 6th or 7th edition, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
They're bringing out the old Warhammer Fantasy again. Well, we've seen a lot about that. We're just waiting on to see if because it was a lot of talk about it in 2000. 2020, I think it was. They were talking about bringing it back, and then since then, it's kind of disappeared, right? Has anybody seen anything new about it?
Not really, no.
No, I haven't been looking. But I know there's stuff coming out all the time on it, as far as people are talking about it online a lot, and but I haven't heard anything other than it was going to. Well, they were talking Forge World at one point. Producing it, but it sounds like they're going to be pretty exquisite 28mm miniatures. I don't know what, and then I heard it was supposed to be a combination of all the previous Warhammer Fantasy battle rules, not just one.
Yeah, plastic card. That's it.
Yeah,
that's what we're talking about, right?
uh-huh.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
It's rumored they are, Paul. I believe that we'll see. It's like, yeah. We'll see if they ever come out and actually do something about it. It's like they may be waiting to see when the market actually opens up and people are getting back into the shops and playing again, because it's kind of ridiculous to release something. You got limited, it's just like putting resources to something that. And I think Ogre Kings was 1st and 5th edition. I don't remember it in 5th edition. I have to take a look. Maybe it did come out 5th. But towards the end of 5th, maybe. That could be. I remember the Pirates Constructible mini game. They never picked them up because they were another TC at the time. Yeah. There is a speculation that GW will release some more info this weekend at Las Vegas Game Show. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And then we have Love the Ogre Kingdoms Army collecting dust. Yeah, well, that's why you put them in bins so they don't collect dust.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So we're at number 2 for Bill.
All right.
Is driven by nostalgia, as well as remembering I had a lot of fun with it. It's also a Games Workshop game back in the 90s. It was called Warhammer Quest.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a little dungeon crawl with like a single dwarf, a single elf, and a few others. Even a Chaos Knight, which I thought was hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Where you're going through the different randomly generated dungeon crawl, and I had such a kick playing that game. It was such a fun game.
Mm-hmm.
Just the randomness of what's going to come around the next corner and what's going to happen here. That's my number 2.
Nice. Reminds me of the old arcade game. Warrior is about to die.
The Golden Axe. Yeah.
Or no, that's with the 4 of them, right?
Yes.
It's that's
Archer.
No, it's, oh gosh.
Yeah, the Wizard, Archer, Warrior, and something else.
Oh my gosh. Somebody in the comments is going to know it, but I know it's different than the Golden Axe. It's where you could all, they had the arcade version where you could all play at once with the 4 sticks, and then I know what you're talking about.
Diablo?
It's Labyrinth, right? I think it is Labyrinth.
Could be.
But Bill said, yeah, that's the one. And that's the one where he was like, warrior is about to die.
Gauntlet.
Yeah, Gauntlet.
Gauntlet. Yeah,
Gauntlet.
Gauntlet. That's the one. That was a great game.
Yeah. Played
I
the
would have
heck-
probably, I guess I might have included Zombicide as a miniature style board game too, because I've played that so much. The Black Plague fantasy version. That's the only one I play with my family, and I have a lot of good memories of that game. But I didn't really include it in the list. But it is, and I totally agree. Warhammer Quest is like a miniature game. It uses miniatures, and so does Zombicide, really. But at the end, those are a lot of fun and awesome. So are we going to hit number one? Go with number one now.
Let's see. Warhammer Quest, a lot of fun. My body had it. Yeah. Obviously, Gauntlet. Yeah, you got Gauntlet 2. Wizard is eating all the food. Wizard is dying because the barbarian chopped him in half.
I like when you were running for the little pile of bones that you needed to get to the next level, or everything was chasing you. Who's frantically running, right? Yeah, exactly. They were great. Well, for me to do my number one, Rusty, do you mind just blowing up my screen for a moment?
All right, I'll kick you out.
My number one is right to your left, looking at my head, all those red books. So it is Warhammer Fantasy Battles. If I had to pick edition, I would say it's 6th edition. It's the one that I want to play, and I've been playing and like to play. I really think that a lot of them are kind of 5th and 7th. They're probably pretty close in a lot of ways, just slight differences. But yeah, it's for a lot of the things that Rusty said and we've been talking about. I really enjoy kind of universe of I'm more of a 40K player historically. Like I started with Rogue Trader and really didn't play fantasy until after it was already dead. And now I'm really enjoying it, and I don't really have too much desire to. I mean, we're looking at playing some old Warhammer 40,000 too, but most of my attention from fictional gaming is actually on Warhammer Fantasy Battles 6th edition. I really like the illustrations and the way the books were written and the balance of. I want to play some 3rd edition too. I've just never played it, and I have it, but this is enough where it's more of a streamlined game to still have the point costs and the army list building that were developed to that point for ease of play and organization. But then also there's still a lot of character in the rules and in the armies, and still really great universe to play in at that point within the game. And so, yeah, it's the one I spend the most time on painting up and things, and still really enjoy the miniatures and all that. And so, yeah, that's kind of almost sounds like a cop-out answer when we talk about Games Workshop products. Like, that's my favorite. It's Games Workshop. But yeah, no, if we're talking fantasy, then it is. That would be my number one.
All right.
Your number one is Warhammer Fantasy. Yeah, I'd say, well, that was my number two. For obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. We did have somebody popped in the house. We got Walkabout Games.
Hello, Chris.
Chris is here. And I started 40K in 87 and Titanicus in 86, Fantasy in 94. Yeah,
There you go.
When the box set popped out. Sounds like very similar to our. Yeah, because you were playing Rogue Trader in 87. That's about time it came out. Rogue Trader was 87, 88. So
yeah. That's my introduction to tabletop gaming.
Yeah.
Not a very clean introduction, to be quite honest. Like, it was still a lot of reading for being young at that time, and it wasn't nearly as easy to get into as it is now.
Yeah, it's like if you have a bunch of even with adults, it gets hard sometimes. Yeah. And it was a lot of time for me, a lot of nights just sitting there reading. It's like the TV be going on. I'm like reading.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the reasons why my book fell apart so many times. I still like fantasy, but I kind of fell out of love with 40K. Yeah, 40K, that's pretty easy to fall out of love with. 87, when bought the book and the squats. Oh, the poor squats. I had a friend of mine that still has squats. And I had another friend who, may God rest his soul, he passed away about 2 years ago. He had a massive squat army. And he died of a heart attack, but he probably had about 10,000 points of squats.
Wow.
He'd see a squat blister on the shelf, he'd buy it because he used to work at our local game shop. So he would always buy stuff. Stuff would come in, he just, at his employee discount, just buy. Kept building. Yes, squats were lead. All right. My number one. All right. Oh, I think I've talked about this one before. If you see me groaning and everything, I'm in massive pain all of a sudden.
War Machine.
War Machine Prime. Or I should go with Hordes also would be the other one.
Yeah.
I have pretty much most of the armies for both of them. I used to play the heck out of this. This used to be the go-to Wednesday night for me. It's like, it's Wednesday night. I go to the shop, go play War Machine or Hordes, one of the two. And it's a skirmish game, so you build your army and you go with it, and play and go head to head with somebody. And it wasn't something you needed a lot of money to play with. A unit would cost you $30 to $50, depending on what size it is. So it wasn't all that hard to. But if you wanted to keep a condensed army, it's like, they got a new unit would come out, I'd buy the new unit. So it was like one of those things, it's completion type of thing.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's like I had a friend I was just talking with last night, and he said, I really wanted to go back and play Hordes and War Machine, and it's like no one plays it anymore. It's like, yeah, it's dead. They don't. My shop doesn't even sell it anymore. They used to have the length of my house. So imagine my basement, from one end to the other, from top to bottom of the ceiling, with nothing on the wall but War Machine Horde miniatures, blisters and stuff, just filling the wall. That area now is been taken over by comic books because it's like no one plays it.
Yeah.
It's a great game system, but then they changed the system and it fell out of favor, unfortunately. But no longer the flavor of the day. But number one is War Machine Hordes.
All right.
Looks like if we go farther, it's like Red Green is taken off for the night.
Night Red Green.
All right. Good night, Red Green.
And Brad has a Scorn army. I got a Scorn army.
All right.
So you got a fair bit of painting done tonight,
Bill? All right. So my number one is Mordheim.
Oh yeah. That was
another Games Workshop one.
And I played and owned that one, and I didn't even think of that.
And I love that game, and it's probably one of the driving forces behind me loving Frostgrave type games is my old experience with Mordheim, being able to build up characters. And what's nice is that it wasn't just the single wizard that's in charge of your group. It's all the guys in the group would be able to be built up between games, which was fun, boy, that was a hoot playing that game.
I would like to have put that one in there, and the one reason why I don't think I could even still is I played some games of it, and one of my friends that I played with just didn't really like the way it played, but I really liked it. I I think the viciousness of the game and how like no matter how much points you put into a character, like stuff dies pretty fast. Like it seems like, you know, and I think that can be a blow for somebody. Like, you know, when you get invested in your army building, if you're not willing to let stuff go, like, you know, like a lot of times in those kind of games, the guys you never would expect like are the ones that kind of rise up. You know, and I was disappointed that he was disappointed. In a lot of ways, I wanted to continue campaigning with it, and I really liked it. And it actually came out around that 6th edition time and has that same sort of quality in the book and the way it's done. And I agree with you. I think it's great.
Yeah, that's my number one. I've had the most fun with that game of all fantasy games I've played. I'm ready for some runners up at this time. My runners up would be by Weird Company. The what's the name of that game? It plays with cards. Malifaux, that's right.
Yeah.
I played that a few times. That was a lot of fun. And then obviously Warhammer Fantasy, like you guys, are my runners up. And then I do have some other games I'd like to try, and I have the rules for it, but I haven't gotten around to doing it yet. And that would be the Oathmark game. I want to give that a shot. It's a rank and flank game.
Yes.
And then there's another one that was mentioned earlier, the Warlords of Erlen. I've only played one game of that, but it wasn't enough for me to actually make a judgment on whether I like the game or not. So now that I have my hands on the rules, I'm going to dive into it and see whether I like it. You know?
I would say the couple good games there. Malifaux was one that I used to play a bit, and then it sort of fell out of favor too. It's interesting how games just kind of like flavor the day and then disappear.
Yeah.
I wasn't big on Malifaux when I tried it. I couldn't really get into it. I really liked the universe of what I looked at it and the miniatures, and I liked the concept of the cards.
Yeah.
But the amount of interaction in a skirmish game among the different players and the abilities and the cards and the way going back and forth was just, I can see how some people would really like it, but it's not really what I like in a miniature game. And so just it's to each his own. And so I actually ended up selling my stuff off. I actually ended up not really, I was kind of disappointed actually, because I actually kind of thought I was really going to like it, but I couldn't get into it after trying it.
It was the synergy between units was very important. That was when some people can't stand that because they'd rather have their unit just do the one thing and be done with it. But when one unit can interact with another unit and cause other things, that people would, you know, that's the same thing. Probably why I like War Machine and Hordes is that there was synergy that would happen. You could do one thing and cause another unit to be better. So.
Yeah.
And that was the same way. It was like playing the card game, the Magic, the Gathering.
Yeah. And probably I'm seeing that a bit in a game that I do like. And I suppose I could have put it in here because I don't really think we're ever going to do a superhero game. Like, what's your favorite superhero games? But the Marvel game has a fair bit of that where there's synergy. And I am enjoying it quite a bit. And I would rank that up actually really high on this list if that was included, you know, if superhero games were included. But I didn't really interpret it that way for tonight. And I don't think they'll come into sci-fi either, to be honest. So I don't really think we'll ever do one.
Because I'd look at superhero stuff as part of the sci-fi universe,
or even pulp. You know what I mean? Like
pulp fiction,
something like that. You know,
alternate style wargaming. There we
go. Looks like Paul's taken off. Thanks for joining in, Paul. Great to have you in the live chat.
So Palmer, have you looked at Ragnarok?
I looked at it, but I didn't pick it up. I don't know enough about it. But it looked. I heard that it's it won actually Game of the Year one year for miniature games, if I remember correct. And it looks good. I just I haven't. It's probably one of those ones that I looked at and I was like, this looks really potential, but I'm kind of focusing on these other things, so I didn't get into it.
Yeah. I was thinking it'd be right up your alley since you're a Saga fan and you probably have Vikings and those
the mythology.
And it'd be just one step into fantasy right there. Yeah,
that's true. I still, having said all of this, a discussion like this kind of shows or doesn't show, like it shows how much you either do or don't play lots of games. Like when, very quickly, like, it because we're talking about all these games, as the ones that you've played and ones you haven't. I still kind of hold to that, trying to focus on the things that I really like and not getting into too many things. And that doesn't bode well for like a discussion like this.
Yeah.
I still am trying to just kind of keep my commitments with all of my miniature painting over the years. And, like we're not talking about sci-fi tonight, but I've got like Infinity for sci-fi. I've got like some, I don't know, like I've got all the fantasy and the historical, and I still try to keep the amount of stuff I'm getting into, and then the Marvel now at a little bit of a low, and I still add about one game every year, and it's like basically eventually gonna still be a lot of games.
And then if they have miniatures you got to paint, then it's another thing. It's dragging on the resources of time.
Yeah, it's one of the things I love about Armada so much, because I don't just love the game, but I don't have to paint anything for it.
Yeah. Armada. Huh? Yeah. Did any of you guys play another game I actually liked, but it was outside of the 5, is Man of War.
Yeah.
I've not played that one, but
I played Man of War. I used to have all the large army of it, or navy of stuff.
That was a lot of fun. A friend of mine had all the different armies, or navies, I should say, of that. And that was a hoot, playing the different dwarven navies and so forth. Another Games Workshop game where I guess back then Games Workshop really cared about whether people enjoyed their games, I guess.
Yeah, seemed like it. Then they went corporate. I forgot I had Uncharted Seas. I totally forgot about Uncharted Seas. Now you brought up Navy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that was another system I really enjoyed playing before they discontinued it and went to dystopian wars only.
Yeah,
because that's the game that got their company started was Uncharted Seas, and then they say, "Oh, we got this other game called Dystopian Wars," which is sort of a sci-fi. Well, it's kind of both sci-fi and fantasy mixed together, but they started that one, and it just we don't have time to produce new stuff for Uncharted Seas, so we're going to basically just kind of throw it to the side because we're so busy with Dystopian Wars.
Yeah. I got recently got a hold of a Saga Age of Magic, and I want to give that a shot too.
Yeah. You probably have a lot painted for it already.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, I've got a few armies I need to paint for Andrea. So.
But you probably have fantasy miniatures already, right, Bill? Like you could use for Saga Age of Magic.
I got a Warhammer Fantasy Orcs and Goblins army, which is more than enough miniatures to be a single army. And then I've printed up a bunch of lizard men, so I'm gonna do that with try out these different games that have come out recently. The Saga Age of Magic, and got the Oathmark game that I want to try that out, as well as the Warlords of Nowhere. I want to try that game out too. And it's going to be fun. And looks like Dan's got a lot of painting done, huh?
Yeah, he's got tons of painting done during the show. Very motivational. What did you paint, Dan? What have you been working on? Used to run Mercenaries and Undead Warband. Okay. Malifaux. I have a few Mordheim crews. Used to play it against a few friends, but I do like Rangers of Shadow Deep. Yeah.
Mm.
I hear sirens.
Yeah, I guess there's a fire nearby. I actually I live near a firehouse. So.
Yeah. When they come knocking on, like my friend, is like you sirens and everything, and they come knocking on your door, and it's like, we're the fire department. It's like, we didn't call you. Well, we're across the street, and we seen your house is on fire, so we're here to put you out. That's bad. Ragnarok is kind of like Mordheim, but if you end up fighting a creature, if you defeat them, then you can hire them into your crew. Ah, cool. That's an interesting mechanic. You're fighting your opponent and wandering monsters on the field. Man of War was fun. Yes, it was.
Yeah.
It's like when they brought out the new Man of War, that sucked.
Oh, what was it? It was a different name though, wasn't it? It was Dark Fleets or Dark something or Dark Tides.
Something weird, but it was terrible. Bretonnian Foot Squire Regiment. Ah,
Nice.
So,
oh, nice.
We're
I
gonna,
heard that those Bretonnian miniatures were sculpted by the Perry brothers, weren't they?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did a really good job because they obviously were very versed into the medieval style.
Yeah. Man.
Dreadfleet. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Dreadfleet. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Everybody was hoping to have Man of War show up and with Dreadfleet, and then that showed up, and they're like, "This is not what we asked for.
No.
This is not the enjoyment you were looking for."
And they dropped it like a hot potato too. They didn't develop it at all.
No,
That happens a lot, though, right?
Well, yeah, it's like they'll test the water and put something out, and then it's like everybody's like, "Well, this sucks," and it's like,
Yeah.
didn't you bother asking playtesters or anything what they thought of this? You just threw something on and threw it at the wall and hope it stuck.
Yeah, that's like the Adeptus Mechanicus. I was kind of waiting on the sidelines because of
The Titanicus, right?
Yeah.
Or are you talking about the Mechanicus?
Mechanicus, the big
Adeptus.
robots game.
Yeah.
That's the Titanicus.
Yeah.
Titanicus. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking of doing that, but because I was thinking of, that's going to be Warhammer Epic again.
Eventually, yeah. That's what a lot of people were hoping for.
But they didn't develop it, so I was like, okay, well.
I was also really close to getting that.
So was I, and I'm glad I didn't. And it's like when they brought everything out, and it was like, "Oh, this is what it's going to be," and it's like, "This is not what I'm looking for." Mm-hmm. And everybody that I knew was like, "No, that's not what we're looking for. We want Epic back, but you're not giving us."
Well, they don't want to anything to compete with their 40K. All right.
We got a question as to whether anybody's played a game called Confrontation, made by a company named Rackham.
Well, I've seen it on the shelf way back in the day. I've never played it, but I've heard of, seen it, people like the miniatures. It was GW playtesting. That's a joke.
Yeah.
I wanted Epic and got excited. Then, nope. No Epic.
Yep. You're right.
That's what, Palmer and I, we were chatting back and forth, messaging us. And it was like, when we actually got the information, what it was, and we're like, this is not what we're looking for.
I think it
Yeah,
was I was still hopeful that it was eventually going to turn into it, but did not
yeah.
quite go there.
I would have had the Warhammer Fantasy Battles as one of my choices, but and I like to play the game back in the 5th edition, but I don't know.
Not everything's for everybody.
Yeah, I had the Orcs and Goblins, and I had a lot of fun with that. And then I had the the Dogs of War army,
Mhm.
which was annihilated by the next edition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I was like, all right, it's a new army. It's going to start up in this edition. And yeah. So
That kind of stuff is really disappointing.
I was a little bit burned by that. And
Yeah.
then,
No, Games Workshop never burns its fan base at all. They do not take a flamethrower to their fan base at all. It never happened. That's just their competitors throwing disinformation.
Yeah. I really like the concept of late medieval or Renaissance type of army with the pikes and shot and the flying men with mechanical wings and the different regiments of renown. It was just a hoot, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was looking. It's like somebody looked it up yet, but I thought that when we were discussing earlier that Ogre Kingdoms, I thought that came out in 6th edition. Someone want to look that up.
Yeah, I don't
Find out.
remember.
Well, I remember in 5th, what was it, 5th or 4th edition, they had ogres as part of the Empire Army.
Yes.
You could field regiments of ogres in the Empire Army, but they're dressed up like Lance Connect ogres. So,
Well, yeah, it's the same way you look at the old Chaos Army in 4th edition. They had the demons. They had everything in all under one banner, basically.
yeah.
And then I think it was around 5th or 6th edition they started splitting everything off into different groups. Same way with the Undead Army was, you had then they split into the vampire counts and then the others, the Tomb Kings.
Tomb Kings. Oh, yeah.
Because I got a Tomb Kings army. But it used to be part of 4th edition.
Yeah.
The looks of the Tomb Kings will still work fine with 4th edition, but even the vampire counts.
I did Tomb Kings, but my entire army was proxied. Not a single Games Workshop model in the entire army. So,
well, that was pretty. We've had this discussion in one of our shows where my early army of my Empire army, and then even my Undead army, is not Games Workshop miniatures because there were no such thing as Games Workshop miniatures around here. They had the rule books to play the game, but they didn't have the miniature line. So you bought Ral Partha stuff and others, and so that you filled your major armies with that. And then when the 4th edition came around, that's when you started finding Games Workshop miniatures for fantasy.
Yeah, with the Tomb Kings, I bought a historical Chinese ancient army.
Oh, yeah.
And then I dry brushed them to be terracotta warriors.
Oh, okay.
And so nobody gave me a hassle about it, which was kind of fun because they thought it was so cool. And then I would switch out the different things. Like instead of giant scorpions, I had food dogs.
Okay.
Working as a giant scorpions, and then I had like a Oriental dragon instead of the Sphinx, and then I had there was the Casket of Souls. Instead of that, I had a laughing Buddha statue.
Okay.
Neat. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. So it was a hoot playing that game. You know, that army.
Yeah, he brought this up. It's like Grenadier miniatures and Ralph Arthur were the two most common miniatures you used to make your fantasy army before Games Workshop miniatures showed up.
Yeah, that makes sense. They still have lots of classic miniatures from those two lines that are in the old Hammer circles, really highly regarded.
Yeah.
I just got that Relpartha giant that I showed on the at least the unpainted one out of the box that I showed not that long ago on the channel. A lot of the giants that I like are Relpartha.
Yeah, they made it some nice miniatures.
Yeah. But, you know, I think we've kind of seen these topics through quite well, and I at least am going to have to take off. We're hitting our pretty much 2-hour mark, usual average time for the show. Sorry, I'm always the one that has to bring this up.
So we're trying to say the show's over, man. Game over, man.
I can hop out if you wanted to keep the show going, but I'm probably gonna have to get going.
All right, 2005.
I think I'm gonna be going too.
Armies, Ogre Kingdoms. That would have been 6th edition.
Yeah, definitely.
So I thought it was 6th edition when the Ogre Kingdoms came out. So
yeah,
because
this is true.
97 was 5th edition, and around 2004 or 5 was when, or around 2003, somewhere in there, I think was when 6th edition started.
Yeah. I think Ogre Kingdoms filled the void of the Chaos Dwarves. I think. Didn't they? They came in right when the Chaos Dwarves were phased out.
Yeah.
So
looks like Tim is heading off. Good to see you, Tim. Thanks for joining us this time live. That's awesome.
All right. One of these times, Tim, you're going to have to join us.
Yes.
We'll get you on the show.
All right.
And thanks, Bill, for coming out tonight. It's been great discussion as usual. You never disappoint. And it was a lot of fun, actually, these topics tonight that you suggested. So
thanks for inviting me. I appreciate being on the show.
All right, no problem. Glad to have you. And Dan says good night. Great show. And we'll be seeing everybody in 2 weeks over in Palmer's.
Sounds good.
All right. I'm going to hit the end broadcast here. And good night, everybody.
Night, everybody. Thanks for coming in to the live chat.
Thanks, Bill.
See ya.
All right.